So I understand that September is Mold Awareness Month. So what does that mean, and what should the average homeowner or the average tenant, renter, whatever you want to call them, what should we be doing to make sure that we don't suffer the consequences of having mold in the place where we live?
Well, one of the main things is knowing where common areas, where growth areas are.
Okay.
Like the shower. Shower is actually a common area beneath the sinks.
Yep.
In the basements, if you have a basement or if you have a crawl space, those are common areas that actually mold will thrive on any damp environment.
How would you inspect your shower to see if you had mold that could be a problem? How would you inspect under the sink? What are we looking for? Like, I think I know that when I see something black, maybe in the corners, maybe that's mold, but who knows? Maybe that's mildew. I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, normally that is a sign of mold. A lot of times where it's a small area, you can actually end up using Tilex.
Yes.
And that will actually get rid of the mold. But if it's a big area, obviously you need a professional to help you out with that. Right underneath the kitchen sink or even the bathroom sink, you'll end up seeing some water stains or anything. And a lot of times what it'll do is it'll end up rotting that also. We end up using a lot of times infrared. That will tell us if there's any moisture or anything. We have moisture meters that we can use.
Got it.
We have special equipment we can end up using for a lot of that.
What are we looking for in terms of basements? Because you can have mold and mildew pretty much anywhere in a basement. They could be on the floor joists above. They could be,
Correct.
on the
lot of times
walls.
if it's an unfinished basement, if it doesn't have a dehumidifier, most likely it's going to end up having some kind of mold because of the high humidity and moisture. You have to have airflow, in a basement. So that's why they recommend having a dehumidifier, especially if it's unfinished. If it's finished, you need to have airflow in there. So in other words, have the air conditioning on this time of year.
What's your next recommendation for homeowners and tenants alike?
Well, keeping the gutters clean. If the gutters are clogged, that's a corporate, honestly, for mold. It can actually end up causing mold around the house. Also, it can end up, in the cracks and stuff, it actually can get water in and cause mold inside the house.
That's number 2. Number 3, what is your third tip?
Dryer vents, and making sure the dryer vents are actually cleaned out.
I would have never thought that would be a problem. So why would mold grow in a dryer vent?
The reason is when you end up using your dryer, it's causing moisture. So if that room ends up getting high humidity, it's going to end up causing mold. So obviously you've got to keep your dryer vents out, cleaned out.
How does one monitor the humidity levels in their home? Like, what would you recommend if I wanted to be aware of humidity levels on all the different floors of my house? I have 3 floors. What would you recommend we do?
I would actually get a humidity checker, which you can get them, pretty much anywhere. And go ahead and monitor it. Anything above 55% can cause mold. So you want to make sure your humidity level inside your house is actually below 55%. If it's an unfinished basement, I would put one in an unfinished basement and check it and monitor it at least, every couple of days just to see what's going on down there.
Yep.
Because if not, mold, quickly can come within 24 to 48 hours.
What is your next suggestion? I believe you've got a few more.
Well, be aware of the physical symptoms. If you start having headaches or nosebleeds or respiratory problems, sinus infections, those are sometimes signs of actually mold in your house.
How long does it take for mold to grow?
24 to 48 hours for mold to start. Well, now, obviously, you'll have to have a food source, and then obviously the ideal temperature, which typically is between 40 to 100 degrees. So anywhere in between there, mold can grow within 24 to 48 hours.
So it's fast. I have always thought that sometimes people who are exposed to mold, it could, people who had asthma and were exposed to mold, it caused real problems. But it turns out sometimes mold can cause asthma in people. Talk to us about that real quickly.
Well, according to the medical news, they say that over 300 million people worldwide suffer from asthma. And a lot of times what happens is obviously being around mold can trigger even worse.